Chapter 14. 1 month.
Ryuga, come with me.
Imelda said, grabbing him by the hand as they landed near the hut.
Perry, go train, out of earshot, and I'll be able to tell.
Imelda commanded, prompting a groan from Parisia.
Loser.
She said as she took off towards the forest. Once the two were inside the hut, and Imelda was certain Parisia had put enough distance between them, she held out her hand expectantly.
Did the head examiner tell you to give me something?
Ryuga reached into his pocket and presented his crystal containing the results of his test.
Is that all? I don't understand what all the cloak and dagger was about.
Imelda took the crystal and looked at it.
There was nothing else? And what's this? This isn't the crystal I purchased for you.
No, that was his only message. Also, the crystal you got for me is broken. Sorry, Imelda. Ryuga bowed his head in apology, feeling a bit embarrassed to admit it.
It broke? That's great. It means your potential is higher than average, Ryuga. That's a load off my mind.
Imelda seemed to be taking the news of the broken crystal much better than Ryuga expected. Well, yeah, I also broke the examiner's crystal too, Ryuga admitted as well.
Really?
Imelda was still struggling to grasp the situation.
Oh well, show me your test results,
she said, handing the crystal back to Ryuga. How do I do that? Ryuga asked, a bit puzzled.
Just flow some of your mana into the crystal. It's important that you be the first person to flow your energy into the crystal, as this crystal will act as your admission into the academy. So don't lose it. The crystal belongs to the first person who uses it and contains information about you as a student. I'll show you how to keep track of it later. For now, show me.
Ryuga did as instructed and noticed that his command of energy had improved greatly since the test. He felt more in tune with his ability to flow energy from one area to another, and almost effortlessly at that. As Ryuga filtered his mana into the crystal, he watched as Imelda's eyes grew wide with amazement. She took a few steps backwards, then grabbed the crystal from Ryuga's palm as she looked on in amazement. That's really cool. Those are dragons, right? Ryuga said as he watched the gold and silver dragon spectrals swirl around the crystal like a hologram.
You're a dragonoid? That's...
Imelda grew really quiet.
That makes sense now,
she said as she began pacing, lost deep in her own thoughts. What's a dragonoid? Ryuga asked several times, but Imelda was completely engrossed by this point. She paced back and forth, muttering to herself as she did so.
Wait, I was so caught off guard by your lineage that I forgot to check the rank.
She held the crystal up before her eyes again and immediately fell flat on her behind.
This is monstrous! There's no way!
She shouted. Imelda rarely ever shouted. This must be serious. Or at least that's what Ryuga thought.
Rank Omega Super Supreme Potential? That's unheard of. And these golden dragons, golden potential sprites, that's celestial potential.
Imelda grabbed her face, her thoughts beginning to tumble into overdrive at this point.
God level? Why me? This is gonna be a shitload of trouble. Oh, gods.
Imelda rarely ever used profanity. This must be serious, or at least that's what Ryuga thought. Rather than speak, Ryuga felt it best to stand in silence. He couldn't pinpoint why, but he felt it was for the best. Imelda seemed like she would need a moment, or two. After a couple minutes of watching her flip out, Ryuga decided to leave her alone. As soon as he made to push open the door of the hut, he felt Imelda leap onto his back, wrapping her hands around his neck in an effort to cling to him.
Where do you think you're going? You can't go outside. Are you nuts?
She shouted, then bit Ryuga's ear to emphasize her command. What the hell? That freaking hurts! He shouted as the two danced. Ryuga tried, to no avail, to get her off, but she clenched to him like a spider monkey. What did I do? Ryuga finally asked after struggling with his sensei for several minutes. She was now sitting across the room, curled into a ball as she hugged her knees. She kept repeating variations of,
Oh, my life is over. Why me, gods? Why me?
Eventually, after a long while, Imelda managed to calm herself down.
If I think about it logically, we should be safe here. And the academy is one of the safest places on the continent. It will be okay. Oh, no it won't. Who am I kidding?
Imelda? I don't know what I did, but if I'm causing you any trouble, I apologize. Ryuga bowed his head, prostrating himself before his panicking teacher.
Oh, Ryuga, no. No, stop. It's nothing you did per se. It's just, we've got a tricky situation on our hands now.
Imelda finally calmed down long enough to explain the situation properly to Ryuga. Essentially, dragonoids were an extinct type of nekoma in the world of Pangaea. In fact, the only known dragonoid is the dragon god, Sky-Splitting Fang, Tetsuya, but even he couldn't be counted as a dragonoid since he's a celestial. Because of this, Imelda and the head examiner feared the various forces at play in the world attempting to prey on Ryuga before he had the strength to defend himself. To make matters even more perilous, Imelda herself feared that should the wrong person force Ryuga into servitude, they could use his immense potential for nefarious uses. "So you're saying I'm that powerful?" Ryuga asked, a bit shocked after hearing Imelda's explanation.
No, I'm saying that you have the potential to one day gain power close to that of one of this world's gods, perhaps even surpassing them. However, that will depend on your effort. But I do have a question, Ryuga.
Imelda began.
Dragonoids are nekoma, which originate here in Pangaea. How are you a dragonoid? I mean, you certainly don't look the part, and I've never seen a dragonoid in person before, but accounts of them describe them as having scales, horns, wings. You have none of these. So I'm wondering, was perhaps your mother or father from this realm? That seems far-fetched, but it's the only logical explanation.
I mean, I have no idea. My mother was definitely a normal human. And my father, Ryuga could feel his blood boiling with the thought of speaking about his father. He abandoned me long ago. I haven't seen him since I was 6, but I'm sure he was human as well.
I see,
Imelda said.
Well, overlooking that for now, it seems that you somehow have roots in this world, which would explain how quickly you've become accustomed to using Sen. It might even explain how you ended up here. Perhaps this was no accident.
But what about Akira? There's no way she came from Pangaea, is there?
I'm not sure, Ryuga. I've never met this person, so there isn't much to go on. The one thing I'm sure of is that as you are, you won't be able to survive in this world alone. However,
Imelda said as she got to her feet,
you're not alone. I'm going to train you as best I can. After all, I can't leave you to your own devices. You'd be dead in half a day otherwise.
You really think so? Is this world really that dangerous? Ryuga asked.
You have no idea. There's just about 1 month until the opening period at the academy. Until then, I will train you as best I can to help you learn more about yourself, your abilities, and also to defend yourself.
Imelda said.
I won't be gentle, and I won't accept any whining. Your life's on the line, and you have very little time to get prepared. Do you accept, or will you quit now?
I don't even know why you bother asking at this point. I'll never give up on finding Akira. That much is certain, Ryuga said as he got to his feet.
Good. Let's go then. We've got work to do.
Imelda said as she marched towards the exit of the hut. You mean now? Ryuga asked, a bit caught off guard.
Mm-hmm.
He sighed and followed Imelda outside. He was a bit tired from all the excitement of the day, but he couldn't be complaining now.
Just so we're clear, what do you see around us, Ryuga? You should be able to see it now.
Ryuga glanced around and quickly noticed something he'd never seen before. A dome of sorts surrounding the perimeter of the hut and extending several meters in all directions. This is some kind of barrier? Is it used to keep Sen beasts out? Ryuga inquired.
Yes. Very good. You've been living here for weeks and had no idea, did you? This is proof that your awakening period has ended and you're now able to perceive Sen, both natural and otherwise.
Do all cities or homes have Sen barriers like this? Ryuga's mind flashed back to Imelda's question as they entered the city of Rindelin.
If they want to make sure they aren't slaughtered in the night, of course they do. I might have mentioned this once before, but Sen beasts inhabit a great deal of this continent. In fact, Nekoma only have control of a little more than 10% of the territory in this world. There are much more dangerous creatures than those wisps you got wrecked by, and even some of them roam this very forest.
Oh. Ryuga could do little else but gulp. He felt very fortunate that Parisia found him a few weeks prior. Otherwise, he might have ended up as some Sen beast's lunch.
Parisia, come out. I know you can hear me.
Imelda shouted as she turned to face Ryuga.
It's nearly dusk. It's time to get your feet wet.
Imelda said with a slight smile, which made Ryuga shiver with a sense of unease. After Parisia returned, the trio sat down for another explanation on cultivating their strength as Sen warriors.
You both have a little less than a month to prepare for joining the academy. For Perry, you'll definitely be okay. You've prepared with me for quite some time. As far as Ryuga, however, there's much work to do. There's only one course of action we can take. He's totally gonna die,
Perry said as she cocked her head to the side.
Shh!
Imelda chided. Do what now? Ryuga asked with a concerned look upon his face.
There's one method to grow stronger as a Sen warrior. To gather Sen within you and absorb it. There are two methods for doing this. The first and safest method is to meditate, slowly, drawing in the nature energy around you. You've already been practicing this daily. The second way is much quicker, but it's also filled with more risk. That is to defeat and absorb the Sen accumulated within Sen beasts.
Wait, you want me to fight creatures like the ones in the forest? Is that safe? Ryuga felt a growing unease in the pit of his stomach.
No, it's not. You could get hurt, but really, how is that different from your everyday life? You're in a world where danger lurks around every corner. You will need to take on as much risk as possible in order to quickly gain the strength to survive. Make no mistake, the more quickly you can master your ability to manipulate Sen, the easier it will be to achieve your goals and live a comfortable life. Furthermore, your lineage as a dragonoid means that you have great potential. Among all the Nekoma, dragonoids are known for having extremely great Sen abilities.
It is here that Imelda paused, as if waiting for some sort of reactions. There were a few moments of awkward silence before Parisia seemed struck by an epiphany. Then she said, very loudly and forced,
A dragonoid? That's amazing! I've never seen such a thing. I knew it.
Imelda sighed as she palmed her forehead.
Eavesdropping Nekomata.
Imelda shot a glare at Perry, who laughed nervously.
Well, since you've heard everything, that makes this all less complicated. Both of you, take out your crystals. I'll show you how to assimilate them.
Ryuga and Parisia did as instructed, holding the small crystals in their palm.
These crystals are called urite. They are a type of crystal that can be used to record specific energy patterns. Everyone has a different energy pattern. You could think of these like fingerprints for your mana. The moment you filtered your energy into the urite crystal, it became attuned to you. It has several other unique abilities. For example,
Imelda paused, holding her right palm face up. Her hand glowed with flowing energy as a crystal slowly appeared, as if it rose directly from her flesh.
You can absorb this crystal and carry it within you. Are you following me so far, Ryuga?
Ryuga nodded in affirmation. Though many of the terms she used sounded foreign, the concept itself wasn't very difficult to wrap his brain around, so it seemed straightforward. I understand, but how does that work exactly? Ryuga then asked.
That is what I'm going to show you. Both of you, take a position of meditation. The Assimilation Technique, known as Gather Sen, is one of the most basic spells you can learn. To cast the spell, just follow my lead.
Imelda sat down as well, in a meditation pose, and raised her hands to a prayer-like position before her chest.
With the crystal between your hands, bow your heads and close your eyes. Allow the Sen around you to flow into you, as you'd normally do with meditation. Then, focus your intent on the crystal. You will feel the sensation of heat rushing into you. Hold your pose and focus your mind until the sensation fades. This is the Gather Sen technique. Try it now.
The students did as instructed. Ryuga in particular closed his eyes and focused on the feeling of the crystal between his hands. Soon, he could see the crystal in his mind's eye and feel the sensation of warmth flowing from his hands into his solar plexus. This energy then radiated into every corner of his body, so much so that he was being filled with a warm energy. Just as Imelda instructed, he focused until the feeling disappeared completely. After just 3 short minutes, Ryuga opened his eyes in wonder. "Did I do it? I think I did," he said as he parted his hands. Sure enough, the crystal had completely disappeared.
Very good, Ryuga.
Imelda said with a smile as she nodded towards Parizia, who seemed to be having a tough time. The young cat girl had a vein throbbing in her forehead. She seemed to be trying to force the process with all of her might. 15 minutes later, Parizia finally managed to assimilate her crystal, and the training session continued.
Once you've pulled Erite into yourself, it becomes your soul crystal. It forms the foundation of your soul sea. You can call forth your soul crystal with a thought, much like I showed you earlier. Give it a try.
Both students obeyed her directions and easily called forth their soul crystals.
This is the only way you can judge the strength and rank of a Sen warrior aside from intuition or estimates. Soul crystals are an accurate measure of your current capabilities as a Sen warrior. For example, if you focus on your soul crystal, you can see two categories of information. Your potential is symbolized by the spectral wisps. In order to read these, you take note of the shape of the wisp as well as the color and number. So, using Ryuga's example, there are 14 dragons, 3 of which are golden. The rest of his spectral wisps are silver. To understand this, you need to know a bit more about how strength ranking works in this world. There are 14 ranks as a Sen warrior. These are represented by letters, D being the least powerful, and OSS being the most powerful. For a point of reference, most Sen warriors never test higher than rank A. Even the strongest Sen warriors in the world currently only reach rank M. The final 3 ranks are considered celestial ranks. Very few ever obtain them. And those that do obtain the power of the gods. The potential you see within those spectral wisps show you the limits of your power. In other words, Ryuga, you have the potential to obtain the power of a god, but only if you devote the proper time needed to realize your potential. The second and most important thing your soul crystal shows you is your current ability. To the left of the spectral wisps, you will see a letter rank followed by a title and a number. This is the measure of your current strength. As I mentioned earlier, there are 14 different letter ranks. Those are known as outer ranks. Your current outer rank is D, which is the lowest possible rank for a Sen warrior. Any less, in fact, and you'd just be considered a normal Nekoma. In other words,
Imelda said as she got to her feet,
you're at the bare minimum requirement. You're dangerously weak, so weak, in fact, that you're almost like an insect, and in some cases, worse. Since you'll be facing many dangers that normal Nekoma would never dare to brave, this makes you susceptible to losing before you ever begin. What's this number next to the word copper?
Parizia asked. Ryuga, on the other hand, cut his eyes. Really? Insects? Worse than a bug? Rudeness, he thought to himself.
The number next to your title is your current level. You see, titles, or inner ranks, denote one of 9 possible stages of strength that you possess in an outer rank. Each inner rank has within it 100 levels. If you reach level 100, you must then break through to the next inner rank. Break through your 9th inner rank, and you will reach the next outer rank. Are you following these so far? So, basically, every 100 levels I can rank up? That doesn't sound too bad.
Parizia said as she glanced at her soul crystal.
It seems you don't understand, my clueless kitty. It actually means that in order to raise your outer rank, you need to amass 900 levels. You also need to repeat that process for each outer rank that you want to raise. To make matters worse, there are various requirements for breaking through an outer rank. It's not enough to just raise your inner rank level. It's not enough just to raise your inner rank level. You will need to pass tests in order to reach your full potential.
Imelda could sense that Ryuga's head was spinning with her explanation, so she decided to switch gears slightly.
Information overload, I get it. It can be confusing at first, so how about we learn through comparison?
Imelda smiled as she began to stretch her body. That might be better, Ryuga said as he laughed nervously. I'm stuck in a cultivation manhwa, he mumbled to himself as he got to his feet.
Perry, read your full rank out to me,
Imelda said.
Let's see. Rank D, Copper, 75. 25 levels to go, Not bad. I see you haven't been neglecting your training. And you, Ryuga?
Rank D, Copper, 1, he said.
Well, that's to be expected. After all, it's been less than a few weeks now since you've been training. My rank is B, Steel, 32. In other words, I'm a 5th outer rank Sen warrior with a 5th inner rank title at level 32. So let's see. That means I'm almost 4,500 levels stronger than you right now.
When she phrased it that way, the gap in their strength seemed vastly apparent to Ryuga.
To make matters worse, most of the Sen beasts in this world rank between 4th and 6th outer rank. There are some who even register as 8th or higher. I say all this to make a very, very important point. You need to be able to gauge your place in the world in order to navigate it. From this point on, both of you sleep, eat, and live to cultivate your strength. Your very life